So, hello everyone. Uh, so, hi, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. And before that, can anyone please confirm whether I'm audible so that we can
Yes.
proceed?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, you're
Yeah,
audible.
yeah, yeah. So, thank you so once again, and welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today. And I'm Mehraj Taufik. I'm a staff of sales and marketing team. And today with I will be the host of this session. So yeah, good evening all, and welcome to this webinar. And this is all about business workflow using Lens, and we're gonna speak about the workflows and how the business are going to use us those workflows and going to get benefit out of them. And with us, our speaker is here, and uh, yeah.
Hello all.
So, and he's Arun Kumar, founder and CEO of LMNAs Cloud Solutions, and he's a former SAP consultant, and currently he's a founder and CEO. And today he will be our speaker, who is going to take care of this session, and he will further proceed with the flows and other things. Yeah. And before getting into the webinar, before that, we want to please feel free to post your questions on the chat, and we will be continuously posting a polls, and you can respond, and let's make this webinar interactive. And as I said, you can find a chat section, and you can post your questions in between. And after finally, you will be having we can have a Q&A session where we can further discuss your questions. And yeah, so yeah, I think
Nice.
let him let me hand over the session to Arun Kumar.
Nice, Mehraj, and thanks for the wonderful introduction, right? Yeah. So let me switch to the deck presentation. Very good evening all. And today we will be speaking one of the important topic any business would need. And this is about workflows and how workflows can really be benefited or beneficial in your organization, right? And we can as we go along, we will find more interesting things about workflows and what it can do for your organization, and so on and so forth, right? So feel free, and maybe we will stop in between, and allow you to ask questions. And since this is a webinar, we would need your cooperation to ask questions only in the stipulated time. However, if it is something pressing, you can still stop us in between. We would be happy to share you the question, right? And yeah, I'm just moving to the slide one. Okay. So when we talk about workflows, right? So why at all an organization would need a workflow, and when do we need workflows, right? So, but what is workflow? But before we understand what is workflow, but why do we need workflow is what is important, right? So in general, right, a small team, let's say like very small team, maybe less than 10 in size. Generally, what they do, like they work without any structures. They whatever task they comes to their mind, they put it in a sticky note, and then we don't know like what order they have to follow, who's the next person who has to work on this task. So it is more of a chaos, right? And workflows are like it brings a lot of structural flow of a particular process, right? So let us like if you have a task and the task needs an approver, level 1 approver, level 2 approver, and so on and so forth. And in a typical case, for example, like this, I have something to do, and then what is the next stage? It is in progress, and then the next stage is it goes to a done state. So it's a clean, status driven, and complete, stateful, right? So you move from one state to other state with a clear process and clear levels of approval. It gives a clear, complete Kanban kind of a view. And what does without a structure will make, right? It will become really informal way of working. Everything goes with the verbal communication, because for a small team everybody sit together, and then they ask, say for example, hey, there is a finance approval comes in, hey, can I approve it? Because people say like, hey, you can really approve it, and then that's how it works. And when the team grows, definitely this cannot be done, right? So we need yeah, a strong workflow, because of not having a structured workflows, right? There will be a lot of delays, and we need a clear accountable persons, accountable team to make the flow go really fast, right? So structural work brings in a lot of clarity, and because of a structural work, your process will be with a great speed and agility, right? So that's how it becomes. So it brings a lot of quality control and process. Yeah. So essentially, a small team can work without workflows. When we grow into larger number of team size, you need a clear cut structured way of working. Say especially like this. Initially, a organization may not have a lot of departments, right? So a small organization may not have a lot of departments, and but now, when we move from a small team to bigger team, you would have defined departments: sales department, HR department, finance departments, and project management departments, right? So, and these departments, you can just think of how where the workflows can be really applicable, right? And especially in a sales team, there is a lead management or a deal progression. So the lead is getting qualified into a deal is getting qualified into a quotation, and quotation is getting qualified into sales order. Each and every stage, the same person may not be dealing the entire sales processes, right? When a deal is qualified, the next person should really take it up and work on it, especially the deal. And from a deal, the next person should be really be in a position to take it up and move it to quotation, right? But otherwise it will be left unattended. Similarly, for a HR department, you wanted to hire a handful of people, but the one person, the requirement recruitment manager has created a list of requirements, but nobody acted on it, right? So we will not get job profiles. And once the job profile comes, who will act on the next step of scheduling an interview, and who will act on the next step of releasing an offer, so on and so forth. There should be a designated ways of handling things, right? So similarly, finance team, especially invoices, when vendor makes a payment, I mean, we have to send a payment to a vendor, and there should be a clear cut ways of approving the vendor payments, right? So a vendor asks for you have to make an outgoing payment, and the payment is really high at the moment, and the person who is going to raise a payment would really be skeptical whether this amount can be paid to this vendor or not. But given that there is a approval mechanism from department head, they will be very confident in sending an approval, right? So that's how the workflow gives a lot of clarity in the business and in the process, and it gives a lot of it gives a governance basically to the entire framework. Yeah. So where it is applicable, see companies with more than one department and a process is repeatable in nature, right? Every time there is a process, every time the purchase invoice is made, every time a recruitment request is made, every time a lead is being created in the system, right? So those areas definitely we need workflows. And when there is a hybrid team or a distributed team, so team work from different locations, and then there is a lot of different departments to be involved in a particular process. I'll explain the different interdepartment processes, right? And for a small team who wanted to scale from a founder who is managing all the things on her own, to a larger team, those transition phases we definitely need workflows. Okay. Yeah. So in general, how workflow help, or without workflow what will happen, right? So without workflows, generally work, like I said, it is all verbal follow-ups. Like I ask people about what is whether this can be approved or not. They say like it is approved. Yeah, I go ahead and approve it. And no clear ownership, for example, who is responsible for what. Everybody does everything. I do a procurement job, I do a hiring job, I do everything all in one person, right? So it doesn't require any approval, right? So no approval is required because I'm the owner, I'm the boss, I can do everything, right? And it is all manual tracking, though there is no system to track who has done what, right? So, and mostly when there is no workflow, there will be a lot of delays and a lot of reworks, right? And with workflows, what will happen? Right? There will be defined step. You tell exactly, tell like, after this step, this is a step that has to happen. Right? Say, for example, from lead, the next step is quote. Or lead, next step is opportunity. And from an opportunity, next step is quote. Quote from the next step is sales order, so on and so forth, right? Similarly, we create a RACI matrix. We call it as RACI, which is like who is responsible of what, accountable of what, who is consulted and who is in charge. I'll explain you a little bit on this little later. And it is all SLA based. SLA means service level agreement. Within the stipulated time, I have to complete this task. Otherwise, a task will be left unattended and it may not move progress further, right? So these are all the benefits of workflows. And you also like who has approved it. We know like who has approved it. So it will have an audit trail. So every time something is approved, we know like who has approved, right? So these are all the different benefits of workflows. Yeah. So now you can understand, right? So from 10% team to 100% team, where workflow is really required. So like when it is stage one, it's a small team, and with only 10 people, we just like as and when work comes, we do it ad hoc without any process. And it is all verbal communicated, right? So we communicate over the person, like, yeah, can you approve it, or can you do this? It is not even approval, can you do this? So people does that particular job because they sit next to it. And overlapping responsibilities, because when it is small team, many does the same job, right? For example, the same person would do procurement, the same person would do recruitment, and so on and so forth, right? So it is all overlapping responsibility. There is no designated responsibility for a person. It is small team. For that, workflows may not be required because everyone knows everyone. So it works based on a trust system. When we go beyond the 10 people, say like, for example, we are growing as a team, there are departments coming into picture, right? Teams might spread across different locations, right? And when teams move between locations and they may not see each other, and there is high chance that there will be rifts or frictions coming between departments, because somebody says like, hey, why did you pay this vendor? Because the vendor is already in a blocked status, right? like those kind of conflicts. Why did you hire this person? Because I did not approve this person. I did not interview this person. No, I did not have a say on this person. Right? Why did you approve this lead? Who qualified this lead? All this sort of questions would started coming in when people are not near and they are all decentralized. So, again, when we move to this level 3, which is stage 3, which is mature team and full RACI is required. RACI is, I'll explain you again in the later stage. So, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So, we need an automated workflow so that it goes to the respective person accordingly, and with the stipulated time, it is getting approved, and we see a good governance, right? So clear hierarchy, it aligns to the organization structure, and we need a very good workflow for each department to complete our activities. Yeah. So workflows especially are very good for a decentralized team, right? So when a team works from Mumbai or when a team works from Australia, there are different teams. So, for example, organization do have their recruitment team sitting in one location and their procurement team sitting in another location, right? And I have seen companies, right? So I've seen a lot of companies. They have their central procurement team from one location, their central recruitment team operating from another location, payroll processing team operating from a different location, HR operation from a different locations, right? So when interdepartment process has to happen, right? For example, you wanted to make a travel, let's say. A travel is more of a HR process, right? But it requires budgetary approval. So now two departments naturally come into picture, right? So the moment you raise a travel request, HR department or travel department is responsible for making you fly or travel in a train. But the budget has to be approved by the finance department, right? So think of that. When these two teams operate in two different locations, how this will happen, right? So, and you wanted a ticket, you wanted to make a travel tomorrow. Would that be possible? Right? So it may be possible, but if the travel department says, hey, every ticket needs a 4-day prior planned travel, only then we can make the travel arrangements properly done. So, the moment you raise a travel request, it will authenticate, it will validate and see like whether it is 4 days in advance, and then whether it is the tickets are under budget, right? Is there a budget approval from this department, so on and so forth, right? So it gives a clear visibility on whether this travel can be approved or not. If not, but I have a travel plan, there is an important sales call which I have to attend tomorrow, right? But I don't have budget or approval. What will happen? So you know that has to be done, but if some CEO or some finance head approves it, I can travel, right? So something similar to that. So in that case, what should I do? A person who is actually working on a ticket, booking a ticket, he or she might get confused whether, because the system says it is only the ticket needs 4 days prior notice, but this person has come with a ticket with 1 day advance notice. What should I do now? Right? So the person becomes confused, right? So in that case, they can seek an approval from a higher level. So the workflow will help the person to decide without any risk, right? So yeah, it becomes the person who is on the higher level becomes accountable, right? And this person also can consult with the person whether this can be approved or not. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. What is a RACI? Let us take purchase request workflow. What is purchase request? So I wanted 10 computers, let us say like 10 computers, 10 laptops I wanted to purchase, right? Because new joinees are coming and joining. The request has come from the HR department to buy 10 laptops, But who is responsible for this? The purchase department is the responsible person, or the purchaser is the responsible person. So they create a request, right? Purchase request, right? And who is accountable? As far as accountable means, who is responsible to fulfill this, procure this and give it to HR department. So the department head is responsible, or I mean accountable to give it to the HR department, let's say, like, right? So the requester, the purchase requester raises a purchase request, and this has been accounted by the department head. And who is consulted? Consulted means, hey, this is we are raising a laptop request for 10 numbers, and this could be somewhere around 80,000 per laptop, right? Then a finance would say like, no, we don't have budget, for example. That's where the next step comes, right? So now the finance team says like, if 10 laptops costing around 8 lakhs, they say like, hey, I need a budget of 8 lakhs. So they request a budget of 8 lakhs. Who? The finance user or finance manager. And it goes to and who is responsible, who is accountable to release this budget? The finance head, because they have to see like whether the budget is available for this year or not, right? And who is again consulted? Consulted is the department head from the request, purchasing team. Like, hey, there is a request come. Is this a genuine request? Is this really required for this time, or can we park it for some time? So they will consult the right, consult the different department. I mean, purchase department. The finance department can consult the purchase department whether it is a valid this thing. And who is informed about this? Finance approval is informed when a finance is approved, right? The requester is being informed, hey, your laptop request is being approved by the finance team, right? So once the finance is approved, now I have to really tell which vendor I have to really, whether it is Dell or Lenovo or any other vendor, Apple or so on and so forth. I have to the procurement team again has to really do a selection of vendor, right? And who is again, like, who is really accountable for this? The procurement head. And who is consulted? The requester. And finally the finance team, right? So finally, once the procurement is done, right? And the requester, right, the procurement manager asks for a approval from a CEO. And like, everybody is consulted from different departments whether this request is really to be honored this time, right? And once it is also approved, finally the requester gets a notification that, hey, your request is approved, and you would get a laptop in 8 days or 10 days. So the person can happily go and tell the HR department that, hey, your laptop will be available in next 10 days, but I have no problem. I just made a request, and rest of the things all went smooth with the approval, proper workflow. Otherwise, imagine you asked for a 8 lakhs laptop for 10 numbers, and who would you contact? You have somebody comes and asks me like, hey, I need 8 laptops, you know who would I contact without a workflow? So I will go and contact the finance team. Hey, could you approve this budget? Do you have a budget? But then the finance manager would say like, no, I have to really ask my manager whether this quarter we do have a budget or not. And then once the head says like, hey, I have a budget, then I have to run behind the procurement team. Hey, I have a budget. Can I get a different vendors quote from different vendors for this laptops? So all these things will become a mess, right? So I have to run behind each people to get it approved. So it becomes a mess. So when there is a clear RACI matrix, and when I create a request, it goes to different people on its own, and based on their approvals and rejections, right? I'm getting communicated with the different statuses, right? This is all is what a workflow can do in your system. So it gives a complete clarity on, what will be the next step. Say, for example, I have requested 10 laptops. It goes to the finance manager for approval. When I see the workflow, it says, hey, this is pending approval from this person, this finance manager. I know, like, hey, there is approval which is pending from this person. If at all something to be contacted, I can really call this person and contact, right? Otherwise, I will not know whom to contact also in a large organization. Imagine. So that's where workflows are really required. Yeah. So we would like to stop here, and then for a while, for maybe 5 minutes, before we just show a quick little demo of how a workflow will be done, carried out in a project management, right? Yeah. Is there any question? Yeah. Is there any question, Mehraj? You want to take it up?
Yeah. So before getting into demo, I think we have got some few questions. So as you can see, we can answer two questions as combined. One question is whether can we track progress in workflow? At the
Yes.
same time, whether can we measure the performance of the flow?
Okay. Yeah. So workflows are generally, right, are SLA driven. That's the main purpose of workflow, right? So you have asked two things. One is whether we can track the performance of the workflow itself. The other one is
Can we track
the
really
progress. Of course, that's what I was telling. So in a workflow like this, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah. See, in a workflow like this, right? So there are close to, if you see, like there are close to 4-5 steps here, right? 4-5 steps. When I make a request of the purchase, what happens? It goes and hits the finance department. Now I wanted to know where exactly it is sitting, this particular request, right? I can check the system and see, like, hey, this workflow, this particular request is pending approval from this person. So meaning I know exactly where out of 4 steps, where exactly this workflow stays, right? And when it comes to the second question is, can I track the performance of it? Because each and every approval, whatever you make, right, is being tracked, meaning a timestamp is being captured. So when I make a request, right, and from the time I made a request to the time the next approval had happened, I can really see the time difference and get a performance of how the entire flow is happening. Say, for example, you wanted to complete the entire request within 2 days, right? But imagine the first request itself is lying in a budget approval for more than 1.5 days. Then there will be somebody who has to come, right, to see, like, hey, this cannot be completed in 2 days because the HR department has asked to fulfill this request in the next 4 days, but budget approval itself is pending for almost 3 days. So this may not work. So all this performance can be really tracked with a proper workflow in place. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So thanks for the answer, Arun. And I think we have got some more questions, and I think this can be explained through our demo. And the questions are like, can we assign multiple people for approvals? And other question was like whether tracking the individual contribution in the workflow is possible. So these are the questions we have got, and I think we can proceed with the demo, and still we can pose the further questions too after the demo.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Right. I'll take a very simple use case because not to complicate too many things. Right. So I'll take two use cases. One is a project management use case. Okay. The other one I will show a quotation workflow, but not to a level a quotation workflow is done, right? Okay. So I'll just um, share my screen, right? And Let me share my screen. Let's say like before coming to this, we just made a right. Okay. So yeah. Right. So now you have seen that there is a mail which has come to me on a workflow action for task user story something, right? So what does it say? I mean, this is a workflow. Let me give a context of this workflow, right? So in a typical project management projects, and you would have a lot of work to be done, which is typically tracked as tasks. Task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, and task 5, right? So each of the tasks needs some proper stage to be passed, like whether it is in progress, whether I have proper requirements captured in a particular task, whether I have completed all the design level specification in the task, so on and so forth, right? So all these things needs a proper level of approvals, right? So in this stage, let's say like I'm the product owner. Product owner means the requirement owner, right? And somebody from my team has created a task, and they are seeking my approval whether can I proceed with this task. So I can either approve it from the from the inbox itself, but if I have a doubt on, hey, okay, what is this task about, I can really see like I can open the task and understand what is it all about. So it says it has got some description. There is a requirement which was written, and there is a demo condition. They are giving what exactly we'll be getting out of the task, right? So they have given some information, but still I'm not sure what is it. If at all, I can directly go to this task right from my inbox and understand what is it all about, right? So it says, as a product and marketing team member, I wanted to conduct a webinar, for example. So they have got what should be the satisfying condition. So I see everything is okay. Then I go and say here approve, right? I could approve it from here, or I can also do an approval from here. So without opening the task, I have read enough, I have got enough information from the thing and approve it, right? So without even logging to the system, understanding what it is, I on the go, like when I am basically I'm traveling, for example, a request came into picture, I can just approve it. The system need not wait for me, because we have put a stringent condition that every requirement has to be approved before it gets started, right? So I get a notification, I am on the go, because I am a person who travels a lot, for example. So when I'm traveling and a request comes like this, and people, if I'm not there, right, to approve or say go or no go, the team will be waiting for me. Rather, I would be just going on the go, and there is an approval. I approve it, right? And people can now start with the work, right? This is, and then what happens? I approved it, and what happens next? So that's where probably the next person would tell who is the next approver for this particular story, isn't it? Right, Maharaj? Yeah.
So
I would
now,
stop sharing my screen.
Mhm. So hope my screen is visible. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. And
Where is it? You are here. You are here. Yeah.
yeah. So now, the story, as in the workflow process, after the story is approved by Arun, he's the first level of approver, and there is a second level person who needs to approve the story. Yeah, and it is it is in a backlog state, and it's to be approved by Krishna. It's another approver who needs to be move the story state from backlog to prepared. And next to the person Krishna, I'm the person who needs to approve the workflow. And my part is to move a story from prepared to explored. For now, in the project management, the explore state is whether we have to confirm whether the story is explored correctly. So it is a place where the exploration part is get filled up. So I just want to whether make sure that the story is explored correctly. And after my exploration of how this done, and I will move the story to the next state. I can approve this by here, and this is a part of flow. And after my approval, it again routes to the next set of flow. And yeah,
Correct. So basically, it puts a lot of checks in between to make this particular story. Story means a requirement, right? A piece of work which is being done. So, the work, the story is authenticated. Whether it is authenticated, it has got necessary information which has been validated by the product owner or requirement owner. And after that, there is another person who checks for the hygiene of things, whether this has got the demo condition and so on and so forth. They say it has prepared. This story is well prepared. It has got all the information which was approved by Krishna in this case. And now comes Mehraj. Mehraj is a person who will do a solutioning part of it, right? He takes care of high level designing the high level solution, so that the next person who is going to develop this particular story will have no problem in it. So, he might say like, hey, I have done all my homework, I have created all the high level definition and so on and so on, but it has to be approved by the developer who is going to actually work on it, right? So they will say like, hey, I'm comfortable with this kind of an approach, or the level of solution is correct, I'm approving it. So, imagine a control goes from a product owner to the person who is a solution designer, for example, and to the developer who is going to work, because finally they have to know, they have to say, hey, this story is completely okay for me, and I'm completely fine with this, right? So that's where the flow comes into picture, and it gives a lot of control to different people and reduces a lot of risk. Okay, imagine a story is being created or a requirement is being created without a lot of information, or with missing informations, right? And it goes to the developer, and finally they are blasting the developer for not completing it. What happens, right? When the developer has got no idea, the management would ask questions, a lot of questions to the developer, why this is not being completed. But they would say like, no, I did not get information on the requirement, right? I don't have enough information on the requirement. Now that's why I'm not able to complete it, right? When I asked the solution owner, they say like the requirement itself was not clear. That's where I was not able to solution it properly. This kind of rifts and fights might come, conflicts would come, friction would come. But now, if the developer is going to say, I'm not able to proceed with this, but then we can ask, why did you approve this request? Because you have already had a control to reject this. And why did you approve it? Or even the solution designer, when the story is not having enough requirement, why did you approve it from your end? So, it puts a lot of checks and controls to make everybody's life a smoother one, right? So that's a flow of one workflow, right? A very small, simple workflow in a project management scenario. I would also show some of the other complex workflows, how Lens could solve a complex workflow, right, in a quotation scenario. But we are not going to demonstrate how it works, but I'll let you know, like, how this has been configured, right? Before that, I did not share. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share my screen. So I'll share my screen. So what I'm going to show is, I'm going to show something, how workflows are generally configured in system. If you would simply try to understand a very small workflow so that you get a clarity of how this system works, right? Workflow list. I'll take a workflow list. Select, this is a story flow. So what does it say? Like there are different statuses. From draft, it goes to backlog. From backlog, it goes to prepared. From prepared, it goes to explode. And from explode, it goes to realized. And then finally, deployment approved. Now, if you see from draft, what could be the next state? It is backlog, it says. And who is the approver? It is product owner, right? From backlog to prepared state, who is the approver? Preparation ministry. And from prepared to explode, who is similarly, you have got assigned a different set of people who can approve this. That's a very simple workflow, but more complex workflows can also be done. Like when it is, quotation, I'll show a quotation workflow, how it actually works in a complex environment, right? So we say we got a offer workflow, and you see like there are different stages. Draft, I can self-approve the workflow, and I can approve the workflow, reject it. Level 1, level 2, level 3, and also I can cancel the workflow, right? So these are the statuses. Before I get into it, I'll also showcase how a quotation resets. What are the different configurations we can make so that we know like what are the limits of different levels of approvers. So this says clearly up to 200,000 euros, right? Level 1 person can self approve it, or up to 10% discount, the level 1 person can approve it, self approve it. Similarly, for the level 2, right, anything below 500k and anything less than 15% discount, the level 2 person can approve the quotation. Similarly for level 3, and similarly beyond level 3, the person who has got level 4 access can approve it. This is how a workflow rules will be defined, right? And simply when you go to workflow list, you could see how the different states are jumping in between, right? Say from draft, right? From draft, I can submit. Who can submit? The offer creator itself. Whoever has created the offer can submit. But at what condition? Those conditions are defined here, right? Simple, very simple condition, which we take it from the configuration and see whether this is within the limits. I can approve myself, right? Similarly, who can approve the level 1, which is beyond 200k? That is also again the same condition, right? Level 1, level 2, right? Similarly, all these things. But when it case of rejection, what happens, right? And when it case of beyond 200, so the person who has approved it, I mean, who has requested, has to seek an approval. That's what they are asking, request for approval, right? When it is request for approval, the moment is the quotation is a draft status and it is beyond 200k, I request for approval and it will go for the state called as pending level 1, right? And so that's how the flow goes, right? Similarly, we handle multiple states. So this is a bit of a complex workflow. To any complexity, you can configure a workflow. But to understand a workflow at simple, that's where we have showcased a very simple workflow in a project management system. And when finance and other matters are involved, the workflow becomes little complex more stakeholders will come into picture, more rules we have to put, to configure it. But however, behind the scene, the rules can be complex, but to make your life very simple. That's what I would like to say. With that, I would like to conclude the demo on this, and it's more of a awareness session of how workflow can be used and how powerful it will be, like how it will make persons and the team responsible and accountable. Yeah. So I open the forum for discussions or questions. I'll stop sharing my screen. Yes. Any questions, Mehraj, or anybody want to ask any question?
Yeah, so you can ask your questions and you can post the questions in the chat. And at the same time, we have got some questions around.
Yeah, please.
So the question is whether we can able to track the individual contributors in a workflow is possible. Whether whether how many person can take that workflow process.
Example, which person is involved in this action? Yeah. Yes, exactly, that is possible, right? So in workflows, we have got two agents. We call it as agents. Whoever is approving the workflows are called as agents. So there are possible agents and actual agents in any workflows we have, right? So possible agents are what? In a department, let's say, like there are two people who can approve a quotation, for example, right? They are on the same level. So when the workflow triggers, the workflow goes to these two people simultaneously. So now either of these people can approve it, which means they are all possible agents. So now when I see in the workflow, I'll be able to see who are all the agents, who are all the workflow agents who will be able to approve it, or at least a role, which role can apply. And now from a role, I can understand who are the possible agents. The person who is actually approving it, then we will know who has approved it. For example, I can show you. I'll show my screen. Right. So let's say a quotation list. I'm just taking some quotation, random quotation. So you would see, it is all self-approved, right? For example, who has approved it? It is approved by this person. So that kind of information we will get. And if at all, for example, it is seeking an approval, for example, it is already approved, and who is the particular role who is going to approve, all this information will be available in a workflow, right? So you get all the necessary details, like who is a possible agent and who is the actual agent from a workflow. That's beauty of the workflow. Yeah. So what would be the next question?
And we have one more question from Fatima.
Yeah. How are escalations handled in the workflow? Like what the approver missed, what the approver missed, and approval and task is waiting. Yeah. So this is a great question. And so for example, right, so escalations are in two ways. When we have a limit, you could escalate it to the next level, and when it is limit in the sense, it could be anything, right? So it could be a amount or it could be a time. So right, for example, you asked for an approval, and it has to get approved by the person within 4 hours, let's say, for example, right? Because let's say like a travel ticket itself, and you are making a travel plan, and you have raised a ticket request before 4 days, but booking accommodation, booking tickets, and booking your rest of the things, right? For them, it would take 4 days. Let's say like the first level of ticket has to be confirmed within 1 day. Only then they can confirm the accommodation. If it is not happening within 1 day, then automatically it has to get routed to, or it has to get escalated to the next person, next higher person who can do that. For example, a sales person or the ticket itinerary booking person is not able to do it, it goes to the travel team's head after 1 day. Actually, that's how it works, right? So that's where the escalation automatically happens. It is all SLA driven, right? And then what happens when the missed SLA is, right? So that's how when a SLA is automatically missed, it goes to our next level. And how do I know which task is waiting? So there is something called as my workflow actions. So you would have all your workflows like workflow action list, right? So these are all the workflows pending in my queue. I will get either a notification here, or I can go to the workflow action and see these are all the list of actions I have to take. You might wonder how many tickets, so many, right? Which are pending my approval, for example, right? Because that's really important for us to really work on this and then close it. Yeah. So, and there is one from, can we set notification or reminders for pending task in the workflow? Definitely, it is possible. Yeah, we can definitely do. That's where you get notifications, alerts. I have shown you a notification which is coming to our mail. From there only we approved it. Similarly, in your system, you will have a notification like this whenever things, and you can also integrate to some other channels like Slack, for example, for your workflow to get your notified. Or we have our own internal communication medium. From there also you can get notifications. So yeah, nice. And what was the next question?
And we have got one more question from Ishwari.
Ishwari, how do we handle parallel workflows like needing from both finance and HR? Yeah. So we handle this using a sub workflow. So there is some concept called as sub workflows, or we have concept called as forks. Like a fork in a fork has got 4 parallel wings, right? So you can actually trigger another parallel workflow, which tells there are different scenarios. For example, the fork works in a way that either of these gets completed. Either this branch or this workflow gets completed. Either HR department approves or the finance department approves. The workflow will get completed. Or in a team scenario, either a team lead from this team approves, or because it is all leave approval, for example, right? Either this person approves or this person approves, it gets completed. Or that's how the fork works, right? So that's where the parallel workflow comes. Or if it is in sequence, for example, HR and finance, right? You have to put it in sequence. So when it is parallel, it is always either of this, right? Either this or that. So we handle it using forks, sub workflows, many other concepts which can be beneficial in configuring a workflow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we are hitting the time.
Yeah, so we are hitting the time, and with that, that is the one last question we can answer, and with that we can wind. And that is from
Can we track rejection reasons too? Yes, of course, this is possible. Whenever a workflow is rejected, you can really pop up a dialog, and you can configure in a way that this dialog is being popped up, and then you capture the reason and then put it in a field of the document you are dealing, and finally you track why this particular workflow is rejected. Because whenever you reject, you need a solid reason on why this is being rejected, because otherwise you will not know why this particular document is rejected, you would end up in doing the same mistake again and again. So for example, you submit a claim, right? And you have not attached a bill. The person is rejecting it without a reason, right? And the same person is not in a position to understand why my claim is being rejected, right? So you should have a rejection reason capture mechanism also, and it is possible. Yes.
Yeah. So, and
there are a lot more questions, I think, coming in. You can consolidate and then try to put it in a concise way, and then we will send it across. That
yeah,
fine?
yeah, we can send, and we can post further questions on our social platforms. Yeah.
So once again, a lot of thanks from my side, and thanks for your patience. Thanks for attending the session, and we would like to do a lot of more sessions like this, especially around the AI topics, right, in the upcoming sessions. So stay tuned for this. I'll leave it to Mehraj for his conclusion.
So once again, thanks everyone for your attendance, and thanks for your participation. And hope you got more insights from this webinar. And I think thank you for everyone. And before that, we will send you the further records and other collaterals to your mail. You can find other details which will definitely useful for you. And please do follow in our social media so that you can get more updates on further events and further actions that are currently trending on LMNAs. And with that, yeah, as Arun said, further we have planned more events and webinars which will up to the market, which is our current trending, our Lumi products and other products. And yeah, we will notify you, and please do follow our social medias, and you can further get the other details. And once again, and thank you everyone. Thanks for the
Thanks all.
attendance.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye bye.